My name is Dilly and I'm here to bring you your live Ask the Physio session here at Katie Bell Physiotherapy and Wellness on Ecclesall Road South in Sheffield. So I'm ready to help you with any questions that you may have physio related. We're excited to bring you this regular live with a physio on Facebook every week. We know so often that people are really busy or work is too busy, childcare is too much. And as a result we can't get to the physio and our health suffers. So we thought that we would bring physio to you. During the session it's a great opportunity for you to ask us any questions on injuries, advice, what you should be doing at work, how you should be sitting, what exercise is good for this, what stretch is good for that. Anything like that, we will do our very best to answer them and give as much help as possible. We'll also be sharing with you some great tips, advice and exercises as we go. Okay, so remember that all the advice that we give on here is based on the questions that you ask, and we've got no prior assessment that's taken place. If we recommend further action and we feel this isn't the right place or the platform to discuss or help you out, we will recommend that you come in to see one of our physios. Okay, let's get started. So our first question comes from Jenna. And Jenna says, I tend to get a really tight back after body pump classes at the gym or after long walks with my dog. It isn't painful, but it just feels stiff. What is the best way to stretch my back, as I find it really difficult to stretch the right bit? Okay, so really common question for us physios. So there's three big areas I would say that need looking at for lower back stiffness or back stiffness in general. They are your hip flexors, your glutes, your QL muscle, which attaches from your rib cage down to your pelvis, and then just the muscles in your lower back that run either side of your spine. So I'm just going to take you through a few stretches. So I'm just going to move the camera onto the bed so you can see what I'm up to. So first stretch that I'd recommend is lying down, getting yourself in a comfortable position. Bend your knees up and you're just going to bring your hands to your hips and you're going to tilt your hips forwards, creating a little gap between your lower back and underneath you, and then tilt them back so that you're flattening the back into the floor. And you're just going to do a few of those because it just eases off the lower back area to begin with. Once you've done a few of those, you can bring your knees in for a hug. That's always quite a good one, rocking from side to side if that feels nice for you. Another one is bringing your knees together, feet together, and taking it into a knee roll either side, turning your head in the opposite direction to your knees. If that doesn't feel like enough of a stretch, bring your knees up into what we call a double tabletop and take it side to side again. So, another one that you can do is hugging one knee into your chest, another one on the other side. We can then pop one foot on top of the opposite thigh, use your hand to pull the knee down and twist over. That's quite a good spinal stretch. And then you can do that on both sides, making sure you're nice and even. Taking it over. Some more stretches you can do are your sort of traditional yoga poses, so on all fours, doing your cat-cow stretches, taking that tailbone out and then tucking it right underneath you, working through some spinal mobility there. You can also take it back into a shell stretch, walking your fingertips forward and head down to stretch all through the shoulders and the lower back. If you walk your hands to one side and pop the other hand on top, that stretches out that QL muscle that I was talking about before. So a really good way to stretch your hip flexor, so the muscle here at the front that often if it gets tight it can pull forward, and that's when it changes our posture and gives us some of that lower back pain, is drop one leg off the side of the bed and hook the other leg in, and what that will do is it will just stretch through that hip flexor. Just have a bit of a move around until you start to feel the most stretch, and I'd hold that for about 40 seconds probably. I'd probably think about doing some release work as well, so getting yourself a foam roller. So just some quick foam roller things that you can be doing is bringing the foam roller in and literally lying onto it, and then you can roll your whole back. It's a little bit difficult to show you on the bed because it's getting stuck, but basically you just lift your bum up and roll your whole back. A nice way to massage through your back using a foam roller is shooting your shoulder blades over, foam roller into your lower back, hug one leg in, stretch the other out, give the knee a bit of a circle, and you can turn towards that knee as well, rotate through the spine, and that'll just get really into your lower back area. Another one that you can do for your glutes is crossing the leg over into a figure of 4, turning towards that front knee and rolling through on there to release all through the fascia and the soft tissue in that glute area. And then just a final bit on release work is you can grab 2 tennis balls. I've got 2 spiky massage balls here for the sake of demonstration. You can buy these from Amazon or places like 66 Fit, places like that. Basically, you're going to pop them in underneath your line of your pelvis here into your glutes, and you're going to lie down on your back, either side of your spine, and just hold it there to release. You can do different things like tilting pelvis forward and backwards to add in a bit more pressure. You can also pop your feet up against the wall and keep them there, and I would just hold that until it starts to release. I would then move it gradually up the spine, so just above the line of the pelvis, hold it there in those positions, into the QL, so just below the rib cage, and then if you know that you get quite knotty shoulders, is coming into there as well, just above your shoulder blade region, and just see if that release work helps. So with release work, it does tend to be a little bit uncomfortable, but if you can bear with it and wait until that pain sort of dies down to just a bit of a discomfort or disappears completely, that means that you've released through that muscle. So if things become an ongoing problem, or if things start to get painful or restrictive, it might be worth coming in to see one of our physios just to get some advice, or if they can see if there's anything specific that needs to be done to rehab you through that to make sure it doesn't happen. Sometimes you can have imbalances through different muscles or overactive muscles somewhere that are causing muscles to tighten up, and that's maybe why you might be getting stiff or tight. And if you're feeling stiff, it's always a good excuse to come in for a deep tissue massage with one of our therapists, just to make sure that all of your soft tissues are nice and released, and that'll last you a bit longer than doing the release work yourself. Okay, next question. Rachel has asked, it's getting into tennis season and I always end up with a shoulder problem by the end of the season. My coach says I need to strengthen my shoulder to help prevent it. Can you give me some quick exercises to do? So my advice here would be, if you're always getting a shoulder injury by the end of the season, that sounds like you're overloading the joint and the muscles because perhaps they haven't got the conditioning there that they need to play. So your coach is absolutely right. We need to strengthen through that shoulder. We need to make sure that you've got plenty of mobility in that shoulder. First thing that I would do is make sure that you're warming up properly. Tennis is quite a demanding game on the body in terms of explosive power and also cardiovascular fitness and agility and things. So making sure that you do a proper warm up to get that blood flowing and get the muscles and joints nice and mobile before you play are going to help prevent an injury, basically. So just a really nice exercise stretch to get you started for upper back mobility and shoulder mobility is called a thread the needle. So we have a lot of upper back rotation in tennis, in serves and playing in general. So for a thread the needle, you come into all fours, you take one hand, thread it underneath the other, take that shoulder down if you can, poke your hips in the opposite direction to this hand that's at the side to deepen the stretch. You're then going to pull this hand all the way back out through, twist it up towards the ceiling. And then you can do that on both sides. So take the other hand under, bring the shoulder down if you can, poke the hips in the other direction, pull the hand all the way back up and through, and twist it up towards the ceiling. So I would do that before every game, a few reps on each side, holding it for about 30 seconds on each side if you can, just to start building up that mobility and making sure that you've got the range of movement before you play. In terms of strengthening, I would definitely get yourself a resistance band or a TheraBand, what we call them in physio world. So probably a lighter or medium strength to start with. And a really good exercise just to start strengthening through that shoulder. Keep your elbows in, palms facing up, hold your resistance band, keep your shoulders back and pull the band apart together. And you should feel it activating the front of your shoulders and around your shoulder blade as well. What you can do is tie it onto a door frame. So I've got a door handle here. Tie it on, and then you can use that. Pull it tight and then take it out. Keep that elbow in. Keep the elbow at 90 degrees as well. And then what you can do is use that for a bit of internal rotation as well to make sure that we're getting all planes of movement really in that strengthening. I would also encourage you to use your band to do some rows with as well. So I'm just going to pop this screen down slightly so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to pop the band underneath your feet, tuck your hips underneath you, and then you're going to pull your elbows up and back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then release. So I do these as well into a little bit of a routine. You can also do an exercise called a lawnmower. Looks like you're pulling up a string on a lawnmower. So you're just pulling the band up and down, holding onto the opposite hip, up and down. If you want to, you can add in rotation. So you're twisting and then pulling up. I would also add in some explosive training as well, just to make sure that your shoulder joint can start to cope with that explosive activity. So imagining that I've got some dumbbells here, you can do something called a dumbbell thruster. So water bottles or dumbbells, whatever you've got. Little squat and then thrust the dumbbells up and down. Squat and throw those dumbbells up. And that just builds up some explosive strength in your shoulder so that you're okay with your serves up and overhead, things like that. I would also look at doing some press-ups either on the wall as well. I'm going to demonstrate on the wall. So hands up against the wall, make sure you set your shoulder blades back as if you're popping them in your back pocket. Keep your shoulders away from your ears and then bringing it forward into a press-up. So just strengthening and activating around the shoulder blades again. So I do a few of those as well. So I would commit to doing some strengthening exercises every day, taking you through that sort of program there with your TheraBand. Really easy, will take about 10 minutes out of your day. If you fancy it, you can do it twice a day. I'd do between 10 and 12 reps, 3 sets of that to start with, just as a bit of an average sort of rep program. And then just to strengthen through those rotator cuff stabilizers and the outer power muscles of the shoulder as well, to make sure that we're strengthening the rotator cuff that actually supports the shoulder, but also through the power muscles as well. You need to make sure that you maintain a good range of movement with those mobility exercises. I'd also potentially look at strengthening through your glutes as well. So your body is made up of what we call slings. So different muscles work with different muscles basically. And your lat dorsi muscle, so this muscle at the back of your shoulder, works with your opposite glute. So I do things like strengthening through the glutes, so bridges. Another good exercise that you could do that would work both is what we call a swimming exercise, again coming into all fours. Take your right leg back and your left arm forward. So that just works through the glute and works through the shoulder blade as well. And also works on your core stability. So 3 things in one. So a good exercise to do all round. Okay, hope that helps. So final question, and this question comes from Rod. Rod asked, "Hi Katie Bell Physio, I'm into my early 60s and I've been told that I have osteoarthritis in my knees. I've always been very active. I'm not in pain with my knees, they just get a bit stiff. Does this mean I have to stop running as it will cause more damage?" Okay, so hi Rod, I understand why you're concerned. Osteoarthritis has a really bad rep, and a diagnosis often stops people doing what they love in terms of activity because they're worried that it's going to make things worse. Osteoarthritis is almost a normal degeneration of the joint that happens with aging. A lot of the old advice was to stop being active and protect your knees, and that running is absolutely awful for your knees and that it just ruins them. But a lot of studies nowadays have discredited that. They've actually found that on scans, runners may have more degeneration than a non-runner, but they actually have much less symptoms, and that's because they're nice and strong through their legs, they're nice and active, so the muscles are nice and mobile, nice and strong, and it actually protects the knee joint. So, my advice would be to listen to your body. If you are getting sore post-running, think about your distance, think about if it's more than you normally run, and I would just reduce that to amount that you can run. I wouldn't tell you to give up running if you love running, and if it's your thing. We can always work around you. I would potentially see if running on flat feels better than running on undulating or trail running, because that might be a change that you have to make. If trail running makes it really sore, and a lot of downhill or uphill makes it really sore, then I'd perhaps stick to more flatter routes. I'd also put a really good strengthening and stretching program in place for your legs to make sure that the muscles around your knee stay protected, stay nice and strong so they can protect the joint and keep you symptom free. So you can do exercises like you can do your squats, so in standing and then literally just bending the knees. If I just move that camera so you can see what I'm doing. So literally just bending of the knees and straightening up again. You can add a weight if you feel strong enough. I'd also look at doing sort of a one-legged squat, but I'd make sure that you're watching where this knee is going, even doing it in a mirror to make sure that that knee is tracking over your toes and not floating in when we're doing so, and making sure that we keep our hips nice and level as we come down. We can do things like a sit to stand exercise, so standing up from a chair and sitting down again. You can do that on one leg, so standing up and sitting down. We can also, if you feel strong enough, attach a weight to the bottom of your foot around your ankle and straightening that leg up and down, or you can hold a ball between both feet and straighten the legs out as you lift those, and that works on those inner thigh areas. We can do things like bridges, so lifting the bottom up to work on hip stability, and then also coming onto your side and doing some Jane Fonda leg lifts, but not quite up there, but just raising the leg and really focusing on squeezing this outer hip muscle here to get a nice bit of strengthening. You can also add a bit of a also start and do some calf raises as well. So if 2 calf raises feel too easy, then I would come on to 1 and do your heel raises on that side as well. Okay, I'd also think about maintaining the mobility around your legs as well, so doing some stretches. So simple quad stretches are grabbing the ankle, bringing the knee together, poking the hip forward, stretches through this hip flexor and your quad. If you need, wrap a towel around that ankle so that you can grab it and stretch through. Stretching your calves by coming up against the wall, and what you do is you step, I don't know, but see, but we'll step one foot in front of the other and stretch out through that calf, and then bend the back knee so you're stretching out your deeper calf as well. And then you can also stretch out your glutes by crossing one leg over the other and taking it down into a bit of a stretch. I try and hold your stretches for 30 to 40 seconds so that you're getting a really nice length through that muscle and giving it time for the tendons to change in length basically. But yeah, so keep running. I'd also potentially add in some lower impact exercise to supplement your running, so cycling, swimming, cross training, things like that, just thrown into the mix to help keep up your cardiovascular fitness if perhaps running is starting to cause you problems, but making sure that you're strengthening, stretching, and then adding in some of the lower impact exercise. Hope that helps, Rod. So that is the end of today's Facebook Live with the Physio. Thank you for everyone, to everyone who's joined me and posted questions. We'll be back again next week for another live session, same time. So please come back and ask any questions that we haven't managed to answer today. And if they can't wait until next week, then please drop us an email at hello@katibellphysio.com or give us a call and the team will be happy to help. Okay, enjoy the rest of your week.